Hey guys, tonight you're stepping into the life of a rattlesnake deep in the deserts of North America. A world where almost everything wants to kill you. But there's one mystery humans have wondered about for generations. Why does a rattlesnake shake its tail like that? Welcome to Sleep Documentary. Tonight, we'll explore the entire life of this ancient predator, from birth to death beneath the desert stars. Before we begin, leave a comment below telling me what city you're watching from tonight. Now, get comfortable and let's enter the world of the rattlesnake. The first thing you feel is heat, not comfort, not safety. Heat trapped inside stone after a full day beneath the desert sun. Even now, long after sunset, the ground beneath your body still radiates warmth back into the night air. Above you, the sky over the American Southwest has turned dark blue, almost black near the horizon. And somewhere beyond the distant mountains, lightning flickers silently inside storm clouds you cannot yet understand. You arrive alive in a world that already feels ancient. You are not born through a fragile eggshell hidden safely underground, the way many people imagine snakes entering the world. Your mother carried you inside her body for months, through brutal desert temperatures, through dry seasons and cold nights, until finally your small body emerged directly into open air, already moving, already tasting the environment, already vulnerable. Around you, several other newborn rattlesnakes twist slowly across dirt and stone, no larger than scattered branches fallen from a bush. None of you understand yet that almost everything nearby is capable of killing you. The desert does not separate infancy from survival. There is no protected childhood here, no safe beginning, only exposure. Your mother remains close at first, coiled near the rocks, exhausted after giving birth. That surprises many humans because rattlesnakes are often imagined as emotionless creatures that abandon their offspring instantly. Yet some rattlesnake mothers remain with their young for several days. Scientists still debate how intentional this protection truly is. Some researchers suspect the mother simply stays while recovering strength before moving on, while others believe the behavior genuinely improves survival odds during the most dangerous stage of a young snake's life. And those first days may be the most dangerous period you will ever experience. Even now, before your first hunt, before your first winter, venom already exists inside your body. Your tiny fangs already fold backward against the roof of your mouth. Your muscles already carry the striking reflex that made rattlesnakes feared long before humans built cities across this continent. Yet none of that makes you powerful. Not yet. Because venom does not stop a hawk from tearing you apart before you even sense its shadow. A roadrunner can kill you. A fox can kill you. A badger can dig you from hiding places beneath the dirt. Even another snake may eat you. Somewhere in the darkness beyond the rocks, king snakes move through the desert, carrying partial resistance to rattlesnake venom, hunting animals exactly like you. That may be one of the strangest truths about evolution. No weapon remains unbeatable forever. Every survival advantage creates pressure for something else to adapt against it. Venom creates resistance. Camouflage creates sharper vision. armor creates stronger jaws. And for millions of years, this invisible arms race has continued across deserts, forests, oceans, and mountains, while species either adapted or disappeared entirely. The night grows colder. You barely understand temperature yet, but your survival will soon depend on it. Humans often call reptiles cold-blooded, though the reality is more complicated than that phrase suggests. Your body does not create enough internal heat to control its temperature independently the way mammals do. Instead, the environment partly controls you. The ground beneath your body can speed up your muscles or slow them down. A patch of shade may keep you alive during extreme heat. A cold night may leave you sluggish enough to die by morning if you fail to find shelter. Your entire existence will revolve around invisible calculations humans almost never notice. Stone temperature, wind exposure, moisture, shade angle, soil warmth. The desert appears empty to human eyes because humans experience only a fraction of the information surrounding them. But already your tongue flicks instinctively through the air, collecting microscopic chemical particles carried by the wind. Those particles enter the Jacobson's organ inside the roof of your mouth, helping your brain build a chemical map of the world around you. Somewhere nearby, a rodent passed recently. Somewhere farther away, another predator moved through dry grass. The desert is saturated with signals. You simply do not know how to interpret them yet. By morning, your mother is gone. Not because she abandoned you emotionally in the human sense of the word. Nature simply operates by different rules here. A rattlesnake cannot carry food back to offspring, cannot defend babies for months, cannot teach survival the way wolves or primates sometimes can. Staying too long may even attract predators toward the newborns. So now you are alone, completely. And for most rattlesnakes, this moment marks the true beginning of life. Biologists believe enormous numbers of young snakes never survive their first year. Exact survival rates vary by species and habitat, but the pattern remains brutally consistent across ecosystems. The smaller you are, the more likely you are to become food for something else. And right now, you are very small. Sunlight begins pouring across the desert floor as temperatures climb rapidly. You move instinctively toward partial shade beneath broken stone because direct exposure could overheat your body surprisingly fast. Adult rattlesnakes spend years effectively memorizing their environments, learning where rocks remain cool longest, where rodents travel at night, where winter dens provide stable temperatures underground. You possess none of that knowledge yet, only instinct, and instinct alone is imperfect. Many young rattlesnakes die simply because they choose the wrong place at the wrong time. The desert punishes mistakes immediately. Hours pass. Insects buzz around dry brush while heat shimmers above the ground in waves. You remain almost motionless because movement itself is dangerous. This becomes one of the defining realities of your species. Mammalian predators often survive through speed, pursuit, and endurance. Wolves chase, Coyotes run prey to exhaustion. Wildcats explode forward with sudden bursts of force. But rattlesnakes evolved around patience. Energy conservation matters more than aggression. One careless movement may expose your location. One wasted strike may cost energy your body cannot easily replace. Then hunger arrives. Real hunger. You have never hunted before, yet your body already knows what to do. Young rattlesnakes often begin by hunting small lizards, newborn rodents, or tiny desert animals hidden beneath brush and stones. But even small prey can injure you. A rodent bite can become deadly. A failed strike wastes precious energy. Hunting is dangerous even when successful. Then suddenly, movement catches your attention. A small lizard darts across open stone before freezing beside dry grass. Instantly, your body tightens. You remain perfectly still. This moment feels older than civilization itself, older than humanity, older perhaps than most mammals currently alive on Earth. Predator and prey facing each other inside a silence filled with tension neither fully understands. You wait because distance matters, timing matters, energy matters. Then you strike. The attack happens so fast it barely feels real. Your tiny fangs connect with the lizard before it thrashes violently away into brush. And now comes the strange part. You do not chase wildly after it. Many rattlesnakes release prey after striking because holding on to a panicking animal can cause serious injury. Venom transforms distance into part of the weapon itself. So you wait, motionless, while the desert becomes quiet again around you. Minutes pass before your tongue begins flicking rapidly through the air, following the chemical trail left behind. Some scientists suspect components of rattlesnake venom may have evolved partly to help snakes relocate bitten prey afterward, though the evolutionary details remain debated. Even now, researchers continue discovering how complex venom systems truly are. Venom may not simply kill. It may also manipulate blood pressure, tissue breakdown, pain response, and scent trails in ways evolution refined across unimaginable spans of time. Finally, you find the lizard beneath a bush, no longer moving. Your first successful kill. Yet, even now, danger remains everywhere. Eating makes you slower afterward. Digestion requires enormous energy. Your body temperature must remain within certain ranges for digestion to function efficiently at all. Too cold, and the process slows dramatically. Too exposed, and predators may find you while you cannot escape quickly. Nothing here comes safely. Not food, not shelter, not movement. By late afternoon, the desert wind changes direction. Storm clouds gather beyond distant cliffs. In parts of the southwest, monsoon floods can transform dry channels into violent rivers within minutes. Adult rattlesnakes often survive because experience teaches them where flood waters travel. You have no experience, no memory, only instinct pulling you toward shelter beneath fractured rock as the first distant thunder rolls across the desert. Darkness slowly returns. Temperatures finally begin falling again, while nocturnal life awakens around you. Rodents emerge cautiously from underground tunnels, searching for seeds. Owls move silently overhead. Coyotes call somewhere beyond the hills. The desert becomes active in ways daytime humans rarely witness. And this is when your species truly belongs to the world. But the deeper truth slowly reveals itself as the night grows colder. You are not feared here the way humans will someday fear you. Not yet. Out here, you are simply another fragile animal struggling to survive until morning in a landscape that has erased creatures far larger and stronger than you long before humans existed. Ancient predators vanished. Entire ecosystems collapsed. Climates shifted repeatedly across millions of years of drought, flood, ice, and fire. Yet rattlesnakes remained, not because they conquered the desert through strength alone, but because they learned how to disappear into it almost completely. The desert begins teaching you something strange almost immediately. Vision is unreliable here. During the day, heat bends light above the sand until distant rocks appear to float like mirages. At night, darkness swallows shape and distance completely. Movement vanishes into shadow after only a few feet. Yet somehow, the world around you never truly disappears. It simply changes into something else. Something carried through vibration, temperature, and invisible chemical traces drifting through the air. You are beginning to understand that survival in the desert has very little to do with seeing clearly. Your eyes can detect motion reasonably well, especially during low light. But compared to hawks, coyotes, or even humans, your vision is limited. Shapes blur. Details fade quickly. If you relied on eyesight alone, you would probably die within weeks. But evolution never intended rattlesnakes to experience the world the way mammals do. Instead, your species evolved inside a completely different sensory reality, one that feels almost alien compared to human perception. As the evening temperature drops, you slide slowly between scattered stones while your tongue flicks constantly through the air. To a human, this movement looks primitive or repetitive, but every flick is collecting information. Tiny chemical particles drifting through the desert cling briefly to the surface of your tongue before transferring into the Jacobson's organ inside the roof of your mouth. In a way, you are not smelling the world so much as tasting it from a distance. Every patch of air contains fragments of recent history. A mouse passed nearby less than an hour ago. A lizard crossed the rocks sometime before sunset. Another snake may have moved through the area yesterday. The desert keeps records of movement in chemical form, and your brain is slowly learning how to read them. Humans often think of smell as a background sense, something secondary compared to vision. But for many reptiles, scent may function closer to a map layered invisibly over reality itself. You pause beside a narrow crack beneath a rock where cool air escapes from underground. The scent inside is stronger. Rodent, recent, alive. You remain perfectly still except for your tongue. This is how much of your life will unfold now. Waiting, sampling the air, interpreting invisible signals. The strange part is that you are not born fully understanding what those signals mean. Instinct gives you direction, but experience sharpens interpretation. Young rattlesnakes sometimes strike at movement that wastes energy. Sometimes they misread danger. Sometimes they choose poor hiding places because they have not yet learned which smells belong to predators and which belong to harmless desert scavengers. Survival gradually trains your nervous system to separate important information from background noise. Somewhere overhead, wings cut silently through the darkness. You freeze instantly. An owl. You do not actually see the bird clearly against the night sky, but the vibration of displaced air and the subtle shadow movement across the rocks trigger an ancient reflex buried deep inside your nervous system. Remaining motionless may save your life again. Many predators struggle to detect what does not move, especially in landscapes already filled with broken textures, branches, stones, and shifting shadows. Camouflage for a rattlesnake is not only color, it is behavior. Stillness itself becomes part of the disguise. Minutes pass before you move again. The rodent scent remains strong near the crack in the rocks. Slowly, you edge closer until another sensation begins forming inside your awareness. Something even stranger than chemical trails. Heat. Not warmth against your body, but heat existing separately from the environment around it. Between your eyes and nostrils sit small openings called pit organs, one of the most extraordinary sensory adaptations in the reptile world. These organs allow pit vipers, including rattlesnakes, to detect infrared radiation. In practical terms, you can sense temperature differences around you with astonishing precision. Scientists still debate exactly how snakes subjectively experience these signals inside the brain. Some researchers believe the information forms something resembling a low-resolution thermal image layered over normal sensory input. Others argue the experience may be far stranger and less visual than humans can easily imagine. Whatever the internal experience feels like, the result is undeniable. In darkness, where ordinary vision becomes nearly useless, warm-bodied animals still glow against cooler surroundings. The desert at night is no longer black. It becomes a shifting landscape of temperatures. Stone releasing heat from the day. Cool air pockets beneath brush. Tiny mammals pulsing with warmth beneath the ground. Somewhere inside the crack ahead of you, a small rodent breathes slowly in darkness, completely unaware that its body temperature alone may betray its location. This ability changes everything about how your species hunts. Many predators require moonlight or movement to locate prey effectively at night. You can detect heat itself. A mouse hidden beneath brush may remain invisible to a coyote while standing out clearly against cooler desert soil to you. Some experiments suggest pit vipers can strike accurately even when visual information is heavily limited, guided largely by thermal cues. The accuracy is not supernatural or perfect, but it is powerful enough that early humans observing snakes may have struggled to understand how efficiently they hunted in total darkness. There are even theories that infrared sensing may have evolved partly because mammals became increasingly nocturnal millions of years ago during periods when large reptilian predators dominated daytime ecosystems. If small, warm-blooded animals shifted activity into darkness for survival, predators capable of sensing body heat would gain a massive evolutionary advantage. The deeper you move into the desert night, the stranger the world becomes. Vibrations now matter almost as much as scent. Your lower jaw remains sensitive to tiny movements traveling through the ground. A running rodent produces different vibrations than falling debris. Heavy footsteps differ from insect movement. Humans sometimes imagine snakes as deaf because they lack external ears, but that assumption oversimplifies reality. You do not hear airborne sounds the way mammals do. Yet, vibrations passing through surfaces still communicate enormous amounts of information. The ground itself speaks constantly. A distant coyote moving across hard desert soil creates rhythmic patterns completely different from the scattered hopping of a kangaroo rat. Flash floods rumble faintly through distant channels before water even arrives. Thunder travels through earth and stone. Survival means learning which vibrations signal opportunity and which signal death. You stop again near a cluster of dry grass. Something beneath the soil is moving. Not above ground, beneath it. A small rodent tunnels carefully through loose sand, searching for seeds stored underground. You cannot see the animal directly, yet chemical traces linger near the entrance. Faint body heat leaks upward through disturbed soil, and vibrations travel softly beneath your body. Several sensory systems begin combining into a single conclusion before conscious thought could ever exist. Prey is near. One reason rattlesnakes fascinate scientists is because their hunting systems appear less dependent on any single sense than many people assume. Vision alone is weak. Smell alone is incomplete. Heat alone lacks detail. But together, these systems create overlapping layers of information remarkably effective for ambush predation. Evolution rarely produces perfection. Instead, it stacks partial advantages together until survival becomes statistically possible. You remain motionless for nearly 20 minutes. To humans, this level of patience feels impossible. Human brains crave stimulation, movement, noise, but your metabolism operates differently. A rattlesnake can survive on surprisingly little food compared to mammals of similar size, because energy conservation became central to its evolutionary strategy. Stillness is not laziness, it is efficiency. Then, finally, the rodent emerges. Barely visible beneath moonlight, no larger than your head, twitching nervously between shadows. But against the cooler desert air, its body radiates heat clearly through your pit organs. The distance narrows, your muscles tighten. Strike timing matters enormously because your body is still small and vulnerable. Missing wastes energy. Striking inaccurately risks injury. Yet, hesitation may lose the opportunity entirely. Suddenly, the rodent pauses upright, sensing danger it cannot locate. This moment captures one of the strangest relationships in nature. Prey animals often evolve extraordinary awareness, precisely because predators evolved extraordinary hunting systems. Rodents in rattlesnake territory sometimes react instinctively to snake scent. Ground squirrels have even demonstrated behaviors suggesting partial resistance to venom, alongside specialized responses to infrared detection. Evolution shapes both sides simultaneously. Predator improves, prey adapts. The cycle continues endlessly. You strike before the rodent fully turns. Your fangs connect for less than a second before the animal bolts wildly into darkness. Again, you do not chase immediately. Venom moves faster than you can. You wait while your tongue samples the air repeatedly. Somewhere ahead, the rodent's body is already beginning to fail. Venom is often misunderstood by humans as a simple toxin designed only for killing. But rattlesnake venom is chemically complex beyond what most people imagine. Different species possess different venom compositions, shaped partly by prey type, geography, and evolutionary history. Some venoms destroy tissue aggressively. Others interfere more heavily with blood clotting or nervous system function. Even within a species, venom composition may vary across regions. Scientists still debate why certain variations evolved and how rapidly these changes continue occurring. In some ways, venom behaves less like a fixed weapon and more like an evolving biological technology, constantly refined by environmental pressures. Eventually, you locate the dying rodent beneath a bush where moonlight barely reaches the ground. You begin swallowing carefully, jaws expanding far beyond what most animals could manage. Snakes do not dislocate their jaws the way popular myths claim, but their skull structures remain extraordinarily flexible. Ligaments stretch, bones shift independently. The meal disappears slowly into your body, while the desert around you remains dangerously alive. Digestion will leave you slower for hours afterward, vulnerable, heavy, exposed. Yet this risk cannot be avoided. Every successful meal becomes a temporary weakness before becoming survival. As the night deepens, cold air flows downward from distant hills into the valleys below. The desert changes personality again. Heat fades from stone. Infrared contrasts weaken. Rodents retreat underground. Predators reposition themselves. You begin realizing that the world is never truly still here. Even silence contains movement hidden beneath perception. Humans crossing the desert often trust their eyes first and miss almost everything. But your species evolved to survive in darkness, underground spaces, narrow cracks, and moonlit landscapes where vision alone repeatedly fails. And somewhere inside this invisible network of scent trails, heat signatures, vibrations, and instinctive calculations, your understanding of the world is slowly becoming less human than the humans who fear you, and far more ancient. Hunger begins changing the way you think long before it changes the way you hunt. At first, it arrives slowly, almost quietly, like pressure building beneath the desert floor before an earthquake. The meals from your earliest days no longer last as long. Your body is growing. Muscles are thickening beneath patterned scales designed to disappear against stone and sand. Every movement now burns more energy than before, and the desert never gives energy freely. Out here, Survival is measured in successful decisions stacked carefully on top of one another. A wrong hiding place, a poorly timed strike, too much movement beneath midday heat. Any one of those mistakes can erase weeks of survival instantly. The desert does not care how close you came to succeeding yesterday. Tonight is all that matters. Darkness settles across the rocks while heat slowly drains from the ground into the open sky. Somewhere far above, stars emerge over the American Southwest with a clarity few humans living near cities will ever experience. Coyotes begin calling across distant hills. Insects pulse through the dry brush like hidden machinery. Tiny mammals emerge cautiously from underground tunnels, believing nighttime belongs to them. In many ways, it once did. Millions of years ago, small, warm-blooded mammals likely survived partly because darkness protected them from daytime reptilian predators dominating ancient ecosystems. But evolution never leaves advantages uncontested forever. Somewhere along that timeline, your ancestors adapted to the night as well. And now you carry the result of that ancient arms race inside your skull and bloodstream. You move carefully through scattered stones while your tongue flicks constantly through cool air. Chemical trails overlap everywhere now. Rodents, lizards, birds, dust, dry grass, old blood. The desert is crowded with invisible information. Yet hunger sharpens your focus differently tonight. Your body no longer reacts only to danger. It actively searches for weakness nearby. You pause beneath a twisted desert shrub where shadows collect thickly against the earth. Beneath the scent of dirt and dry roots, something else drifts through the air. Mouse, fresh, very close. Instantly, your body stills. This is one of the strangest transformations taking place inside you. The more dangerous your world becomes, the less movement you use to navigate it. Many predators rely on speed, endurance, or brute force. Rattlesnakes evolved around restraint. Every unnecessary motion increases exposure. Every wasted burst of energy matters. Patience became your species' survival strategy because patience costs less than pursuit. Somewhere ahead, hidden among rocks fractured by centuries of heat and wind, a small rodent searches for seeds beneath the moonlight, completely unaware that your nervous system has already begun constructing an ambush around it. Your pit organs detect faint warmth leaking through darkness. Not a detailed image exactly, but enough. Enough to separate living heat from cooling stone. Enough to identify direction. Enough to know the animal is moving slowly. Scientists still debate how snakes subjectively experience thermal information inside the brain. Humans naturally describe it visually because vision dominates human perception, but the actual experience may be far stranger than a simple heat picture. Perhaps it feels closer to pressure, or instinctive geometry, or layered sensory certainty impossible to translate into mammalian language. Whatever the internal sensation truly is, it works. The mouse stops beneath a patch of brush no more than a few feet away. You remain frozen. Muscles tighten invisibly beneath your scales, while your heart rate slows almost unnaturally calm. This moment has repeated across deserts for millions of years. Predator and prey separated by only seconds from violence. Yet the most important thing inside you right now is not speed. It is venom. Humans often talk about venom as though it were a single substance, a simple poison injected into victims. The reality is far more unsettling. Rattlesnake venom is a shifting chemical arsenal built from dozens of proteins and enzymes evolved through immense stretches of evolutionary time. Some components attack blood vessels, some interfere with clotting, others begin destroying tissue itself. Certain venoms affect nerves more heavily, while others specialize in rapidly overwhelming circulatory systems. Even among rattlesnakes, venom composition varies surprisingly across geography and prey type. A rattlesnake surviving in one desert ecosystem may carry chemically different venom than members of the same species living elsewhere. Scientists are still studying why some of these differences evolved and how quickly they continue changing. In a way, venom behaves less like a static weapon and more like an evolving biological technology, constantly adapting alongside prey resistance. You do not consciously understand any of this, of course, yet your body carries the outcome of those ancient evolutionary pressures automatically. Venom glands sit behind your eyes, connected to hollow fangs folded backward inside your mouth. When you strike, muscles contract around those glands with terrifying efficiency. And now, for the first time, hunger pushes you toward using that system against prey large enough to fight back seriously. The mouse shifts again. One more step. Your body explodes forward. The strike happens so quickly, it barely feels connected to time at all. Fangs penetrate fur and flesh before the rodent even fully reacts. Then instantly you release it. This surprises many humans because movies often portray venomous snakes clinging dramatically to prey, but rattlesnakes frequently let go immediately after striking. Holding on to a panicking animal can be dangerous. Rodents bite, claws slash. Even small prey can injure a young snake badly enough to threaten survival later through infection or impaired movement. Venom allows distance itself to become part of the hunting strategy. So now comes the difficult part: waiting. The mouse disappears wildly into darkness while you remain completely still beneath the brush. Tongue flicking, muscles tense, listening to vibrations through the ground. Somewhere nearby, venom is already entering blood vessels and tissue. Scientists still debate exactly how early humans first interpreted venomous bites before understanding biology. In many ancient cultures, venomous snakes became symbols of death, transformation, medicine, or divine punishment simultaneously. Even today, rattlesnakes provoke reactions deeper than ordinary fear in many people. Something about venom bypasses rational comfort because it turns the victim's own bloodstream into part of the weapon. Minutes pass. Then slowly you begin following the trail. This stage of the hunt may be even more remarkable than the strike itself. A bitten animal leaves behind subtle chemical markers altered by stress, injury, and venom interaction. Some research suggests Rattlesnakes can distinguish prey they personally envenomated from other nearby animals using these changing scent cues. If true, it means venom may function not only as a killing mechanism, but also as part of a tracking system refined over evolutionary time. The desert around you remains dangerous while you search. An owl could descend silently at any moment. A fox may already smell blood. Even another snake might steal your kill if given the opportunity. Survival rarely pauses simply because one predator succeeds. Finally, you locate the mouse beneath scattered rocks, where its body has stopped moving. Your venom worked, but even success reveals another challenge immediately. Swallowing prey is exhausting. Your jaws stretch slowly around the rodent, while flexible bones shift independently in ways humans often misunderstand. Snakes do not truly unhinge their jaws, but the connective structures within the skull allow astonishing expansion. Teeth angled backward help pull prey deeper inside, inch by inch. The process looks slow because it is slow and dangerous. During feeding, your attention narrows. Movement becomes clumsy. Vulnerability increases dramatically. Many predators target snakes specifically while they eat because escape becomes harder. Yet your body desperately needs the calories. Rodents provide dense energy that may sustain you for days, perhaps weeks if conditions remain favorable. Once the prey finally disappears into your body, you retreat carefully beneath stone while digestion begins. And digestion for a rattlesnake is not passive. Your metabolism changes radically after feeding. Internal organs increase activity. Acid production surges. Body temperature becomes critically important because digestion efficiency depends heavily on environmental heat. Too cold, and the meal may take dangerously long to process. Too hot, and dehydration threatens your survival. The desert once again becomes part of your biology itself. Humans often separate organisms from environments conceptually, but creatures like you blur that boundary completely. The temperature of a rock can alter your ability to digest food. Shade can determine survival. A storm arriving too early may reshape hunting patterns for weeks. You rest beneath stone while the meal slowly settles inside you. Yet something else is changing too. Confidence. Not emotion exactly in the human sense, but experience accumulating inside your nervous system. The strike worked. The venom worked. The waiting worked. Your body is beginning to understand its role within this ecosystem. And that role is stranger than humans usually imagine. Despite your reputation, you are not a relentless killer wandering the desert searching constantly for violence. Most rattlesnakes spend enormous portions of their lives avoiding conflict entirely. Venom is metabolically expensive to produce. Strikes carry risk. Exposure invites predators. In many situations, remaining hidden serves survival better than aggression ever could. The famous rattle itself may have evolved primarily as a warning system designed to avoid unnecessary confrontations with large animals capable of crushing you accidentally. Some researchers even speculate that the rattle became more advantageous after large hoofed mammals spread through North America, giving snakes a better chance of avoiding fatal trampling. The deeper night grows, the colder the desert becomes. Wind slides softly across stone, while stars burn over landscapes older than human memory. Somewhere nearby, another rodent moves cautiously through brush, unaware that a young rattlesnake now rests beneath the rocks, carrying fresh venom already rebuilding inside its glands. Because that may be the most unsettling truth of all. Venom is not a single-use defense. Your body continuously manufactures it again and again through specialized tissues perfected across millions of years. Long before humans feared the sound of rattles in dry grass, evolution was already refining the chemistry hidden behind your eyes. And somewhere, inside the silence of this desert night, you are slowly becoming exactly what the desert shaped you to be. At some point, without fully realizing it, you stop thinking of yourself as prey first. The desert slowly changes the way you move through it. Your strikes become more precise. Your body grows heavier and longer across the stone. Hunger no longer feels like panic every night because you have learned the rhythms of this landscape well enough to survive between meals. You know where rodents travel after sunset. You know which rocks keep warmth longest after dark. You know how to remain invisible even while fully exposed beneath moonlight. And that growing confidence may become one of the most dangerous things that has happened to you so far. Because the desert has a cruel habit of punishing animals right after they begin believing they understand it. The night air is colder now than it was during your first weeks alive. Seasons have shifted gradually across the southwest, changing prey movement and predator behavior along with them. Dry wind pushes dust through narrow cracks in the rocks, while clouds cover part of the moon overhead. Somewhere nearby, kangaroo rats move carefully through the brush, searching for fallen seeds. You sense them easily now. Heat, vibration, chemical traces. The invisible language of survival no longer feels mysterious. It feels natural. Yet tonight, something else moves across the desert floor, carrying almost no fear of your venom at all. The first warning arrives through vibration, heavy, controlled. Not the scattered rhythm of rodents or the cautious stepping of foxes. This movement feels deliberate, confident. Your body stills immediately beneath a low cluster of stone while your tongue flicks through cool air. Then the scent reaches you. Snake, but not your kind. King snake. Even among predators, king snakes occupy a strange place in the reptile world. Long before humans became fascinated by venomous snakes, king snakes were already hunting them. Their bodies carry partial resistance to many forms of snake venom, including venom from rattlesnakes in some regions. Not immunity exactly. Scientists caution against oversimplifying the relationship. A sufficiently large venom dose can still kill them under certain conditions. But compared to most animals, king snakes possess extraordinary protection. And perhaps more importantly, they specialize in hunting other reptiles with terrifying efficiency. The king snake slides silently through scattered brush nearby, body glimmering faintly beneath moonlight. Unlike you, it does not rely on venom. It kills through constriction, coiling around prey until blood circulation collapses. And tonight, you are small enough to become prey. This is one of the hardest realities of your world. Survival does not move in a straight line where predators simply dominate weaker animals beneath them. Food chains overlap chaotically. Hunters become hunted constantly. A rattlesnake may kill rodents while simultaneously avoiding birds, mammals, and larger snakes capable of killing it just as easily. Nature rarely creates absolute power. Instead, it creates temporary advantages constantly challenged by something else. You remain frozen while the king snake investigates the rocks nearby. Your camouflage helps, but camouflage alone cannot guarantee safety forever. Eventually, movement, scent, or heat may betray your position. For several minutes, neither of you moves noticeably. Then, suddenly, the king snake turns away and disappears deeper into darkness. Survival tonight depended less on venom than invisibility. That lesson matters. Humans often imagine venomous snakes sitting confidently near the top of desert ecosystems. But many rattlesnakes spend enormous portions of their lives avoiding confrontation whenever possible. Venom is dangerous, but danger alone does not make an animal invincible. In fact, evolution often creates specialized counters to successful weapons surprisingly quickly across geological time. Ground squirrels in some rattlesnake habitats display partial venom resistance. Certain birds learn precise attack patterns against snakes. Mammals like badgers and mongooses became famous partly because of their ability to fight venomous prey aggressively. Even roadrunners, birds many humans associate mainly with cartoons, sometimes kill small rattlesnakes through speed, coordination, and repeated strikes to the head. That may be one of the strangest truths about survival in the natural world. Fear does not always follow biological danger logically. Humans fear rattlesnakes intensely because venom feels personal and immediate. But many desert animals evolved beside rattlesnakes for millions of years. To them, you are not a mythical killer. You are simply another risk woven into the environment like heat, drought, or storms. Dawn approaches slowly. The eastern horizon fades from black into deep blue, while cold air settles into low desert valleys. You retreat toward a narrow crack beneath layered stone where warmth still lingers from yesterday's sunlight. Safe shelter matters more now because your body is entering another vulnerable stage. Digestion from your recent meals continues slowly, and cold temperatures can dramatically reduce your mobility. Then suddenly the ground vibrates violently. Heavy impacts, fast, large. Instantly your body tightens. Something big is approaching. A coyote bursts between scattered brush only yards away, nose low against the ground. It pauses suddenly, sniffing the air. Coyotes occupy a strange relationship with rattlesnakes. Some avoid them cautiously after negative encounters. Others learn how to attack safely, especially against younger snakes. Intelligence changes predator behavior dramatically. Mammalian hunters capable of learning patterns often become far more dangerous than instinct-driven predators alone. The coyote circles slowly now. It may smell the rodent scent lingering around your hiding place. Or perhaps it smells you directly. Your body remains motionless beneath stone, while your rattle stays silent. That surprises many people too. Contrary to popular belief, rattlesnakes do not always rattle before danger. The rattle itself is primarily defensive, not aggressive. It evolved as a warning system, likely reducing accidental encounters with large animals capable of crushing snakes unintentionally. Some scientists believe the rattle became especially useful during periods when massive hoofed mammals dominated North America. A warning sound could prevent deadly trampling, but revealing your location too early also carries risks. Sometimes silence is safer. The coyote steps closer. One wrong movement now could trigger an attack too fast to escape. Then, suddenly, another sound interrupts the tension. Wings. Large wings descending rapidly through the cold morning air. The coyote flinches backward as a hawk sweeps low across the rocks before climbing again toward the brightening sky. For a moment, the desert becomes pure chaos. Predator interrupting predator, while prey waits beneath stone, hoping neither notices it. This is how much of survival truly works here. Not clean hierarchies, not simple dominance, constant overlapping danger. Eventually, the coyote disappears into the brush, frustrated or distracted elsewhere, but the hawk remains overhead. Raptors may be among the most dangerous enemies your species faces because they attack from angles difficult to detect. Some hawks specialize heavily in reptile hunting, scanning open landscapes for even slight movement against sand or stone. Their eyesight vastly exceeds yours. A rattlesnake surviving against aerial predators depends heavily on camouflage, stillness, and terrain complexity. Open ground can become deadly instantly. You remain hidden for hours afterward, while daylight intensifies across the desert. Heat builds again slowly. Lizards emerge across sunlit rocks. Insects pulse through dry grass. The desert looks calm from a distance, but beneath that calm sits endless pressure. Every creature here survives by exploiting tiny advantages while defending against countless weaknesses simultaneously. Your venom matters. Your camouflage matters. Your heat-sensing organs matter. But none of those abilities remove danger permanently. They simply improve odds slightly in an environment where survival is always uncertain. Later that evening, as temperatures begin dropping once more, you leave shelter carefully and move through a narrow wash carved long ago by seasonal floodwater. The scent of another rattlesnake drifts faintly through the air nearby. Older, larger. For a moment, instinct pulls you toward caution. Cannibalism among rattlesnakes is not considered common in most species, but it has been documented occasionally. And larger snakes may kill smaller ones during territorial conflicts, feeding opportunities, or accidental encounters. Even among your own kind, safety is not guaranteed. The desert wastes nothing. As darkness fully returns, you sense movement again ahead near scattered brush. This time, the vibrations feel different, sharp, rapid, coordinated. A roadrunner bursts into view, chasing a lizard across the sand before suddenly stopping. The bird freezes upright, head turning sharply toward your position. Humans rarely think of birds as snake hunters outside dramatic documentaries, but roadrunners can be remarkably efficient predators. Fast reflexes, precise strikes, and intelligence make them dangerous opponents for small rattlesnakes. For several seconds, neither of you moves. Then, the bird decides the risk is not worth it and rushes away after easier prey. Another narrow survival, another reminder. You are growing stronger now, but the desert still does not belong to you. Perhaps it never truly belongs to anything. Millions of years before humans feared the sound of rattles in dry grass, predators and prey here were already shaping each other through endless cycles of adaptation. Venom created resistance. Camouflage sharpened vision. Stealth improved detection. Every advantage triggered another response somewhere else in the ecosystem. And somewhere inside that ancient evolutionary war, your species survived. Not because it became unstoppable, but because it learned how to remain alive while surrounded constantly by things equally determined to kill it. Something inside your body begins to feel wrong, long before you understand what is happening. The desert has become familiar enough now that changes stand out quickly. The rocks still hold heat the same way after sunset. Rodents still move through dry brush beneath moonlight. Coyotes still call across distant valleys, while cold wind slides through narrow canyons after dark. But your own body no longer feels synchronized with the landscape around it. Your movements become duller, less precise. Vision grows cloudy in a way that makes the world appear covered by a thin layer of blue-gray smoke. Even the stars above the desert lose their sharpness. At first, this weakness feels dangerous because weakness in the desert usually means something is dying. Infection, starvation, injury, exposure. Yet what is happening to you is older and stranger than illness. Your body is preparing to abandon its own skin. Humans often think of skin as permanent, something attached continuously to identity itself. But for snakes, skin is temporary, a layer designed to be discarded repeatedly across a lifetime. As your body grows, the outer scales cannot expand forever with it. Damage accumulates. Parasites attach. Surface layers wear down against rock and sand. Eventually, the entire outer covering begins separating from the fresh layer developing underneath. The process is called ecdysis, though out here in the desert, it feels less like biology and more like transformation. The first visible sign appears in your eyes. Snakes do not have eyelids like mammals. Instead, transparent scales cover and protect the eyes continuously. As fluid builds between old skin and new skin beneath it, those eye coverings turn pale and milky blue. The effect is unsettling even among humans familiar with reptiles, because it makes snakes appear ghost-like, almost blind. In some cultures, Ancient people may have interpreted this transformation as mystical or supernatural. A creature disappearing into cloudy blindness before emerging renewed days later would have seemed deeply symbolic long before biology explained the process. Yet symbolism does not make the experience safe. During this period, your vision genuinely worsens. Hunting becomes harder. Detecting predators becomes harder. Even navigating rough terrain becomes more dangerous because depth and movement blur together strangely. So you retreat deeper into hiding places beneath fractured stone, while your body continues changing in silence. The desert outside remains brutally alive. Hawks still circle overhead. King snakes still move through dry washes, hunting reptiles beneath moonlight. But now, even prey animals may become difficult to catch, because your strike timing depends partly on sensory precision. This vulnerable period reveals another uncomfortable truth about survival. Growth itself carries danger. Every major transformation in nature exposes weakness temporarily. Young mammals become vulnerable while learning to walk. Deer risk exposure during antler growth. Birds become nearly helpless while molting damaged feathers. And now your own body forces you into isolation while rebuilding itself from the outside inward. Hours pass beneath stone while the old skin slowly loosens further across your body. The sensation may not resemble pain exactly, but irritation spreads constantly along your scales. Your movements feel tighter, restricted somehow, as though the desert itself has become narrower around you. Scientists still debate certain details of how reptiles subjectively experience discomfort, because measuring sensation in animals without facial expression or vocal communication remains extraordinarily difficult. Yet behavior strongly suggests the shedding process creates significant stress. Snakes become more defensive during this stage, more secretive, less willing to expose themselves unnecessarily. Your tongue flicks repeatedly through cool air beneath the rocks. The scent of dust, old prey trails, and dry earth remains familiar, but another smell now surrounds you too, your own body. Fresh skin developing beneath dead layers already beginning to separate. Then, one night, instinct pushes you outward. The air is cooler now. Moisture from distant storms lingers faintly across the desert, slightly softening conditions. Humidity matters more than many people realize because excessively dry environments can complicate shedding dramatically. Snakes trapped in poor conditions sometimes fail to remove old skin completely, creating dangerous constriction around the tail or eyes. In the wild, survival often depends on timing these biological processes against environmental conditions favorable enough to complete them safely. You move slowly across rough stone until your snout presses against a narrow crack in the rocks. Then, instinct takes over completely. You begin rubbing your face hard against the surface repeatedly. The old skin near your mouth tears first. A small split opens, and suddenly, your entire body begins sliding forward through the rupture. The process looks eerie beneath moonlight. Your old skin peels backward, inside out, as muscles contract steadily against stone and dirt. The transparent eye coverings detach, Faded scales roll away from your body like a ghost abandoned across the desert floor. Beneath it, fresh scales emerge, brighter, cleaner, more sharply patterned than before. For a brief moment, you almost seem reborn. But the reality underneath remains more complicated. Shedding is not renewal in a mystical sense. It is maintenance, necessary survival. The new skin is not invincible. Damage will begin accumulating again immediately. Sand will scrape scales. Rocks will wear surfaces down. Parasites may eventually attach again. Even now, microscopic injuries already exist along parts of your body from daily movement through harsh terrain. The desert allows nothing to remain untouched for long. Still, the change matters enormously. Your senses sharpen again almost immediately once the cloudy eye coverings disappear. Heat signatures regain clarity. Motion becomes easier to track. Your body moves more fluidly across rock and sand. And, perhaps most importantly, your growth has become visible now. You are longer than before, heavier, more dangerous. Young rattlesnakes shed several times during their first years because growth happens rapidly while survival allows it. Older snakes may shed less frequently depending on health, food availability, environmental conditions, and species. Some researchers believe stress itself can influence shedding cycles in certain reptiles, though the exact biological relationships remain studied even now. What matters tonight is simpler. You survived another transformation, and surviving transformation in the desert may matter more than strength alone ever could. Nearby, beneath scattered brush, movement catches your attention. A rodent, larger than prey you once hunted easily. Months ago, you may have hesitated. Your strike range was shorter then, your body weaker. But now your muscles coil differently beneath your scales. Growth changes confidence, even in animals that do not experience confidence the way humans do. Experience accumulates physically. Your nervous system reacts faster because it has survived before. You position yourself beside a cluster of rocks where warmth still lingers from the day. Patience returns naturally. The rodent moves cautiously through shadows, unaware that your body has become more efficient with every successful hunt, every narrow escape, every transformation completed beneath these desert skies. Yet another change is occurring too. At the tip of your tail sits something small but increasingly important: the rattle. Many people imagine rattlesnakes being born with full rattles already attached, but newborn rattlesnakes possess only a tiny button at the end of the tail. Each successful shed adds another hollow keratin segment. Over time, these segments create the famous sound humans associate with warning and danger across North America. But the relationship between age and rattle size is more complicated than popular myths suggest. Rattle segments break frequently in the wild. Harsh terrain damages them. Predators damage them. Old segments snap away naturally. A rattlesnake with fewer segments is not necessarily younger than one with many. The desert erases clean measurements constantly. Scientists still debate exactly how the rattle first evolved. Some theories suggest simple tail vibrations originally served as defensive distraction displays before specialized segments gradually amplified the sound. Others argue the structure may have become more advantageous as large hoofed mammals spread across ancient North America, giving snakes a way to avoid accidental trampling. Whatever the origin, the result became one of the most recognizable warning systems in the animal kingdom. Yet, ironically, many rattlesnakes still prefer silence whenever possible. Remaining hidden often works better than announcing your position. The rodent stops suddenly near your ambush point. You strike instantly. The attack feels smoother now, more controlled. Venom enters flesh. The prey disappears briefly into darkness before collapsing beneath dry grass moments later. Another successful hunt. Another layer of survival added to your growing body. But feeding now reveals something else too. Your fangs themselves are changing. Like all snakes, rattlesnakes replace damaged or lost teeth continuously throughout life. Spare fangs develop behind active ones, ready to rotate forward if needed. This matters because venom delivery systems endure enormous stress. A broken fang during hunting could become catastrophic without replacement mechanisms already evolving inside your skull. Evolution rarely depends on single solutions. It builds backups, redundancies, layers of protection against inevitable failure. The deeper night grows, the colder the desert becomes. Wind moves softly across stone, while distant thunder echoes beyond black mountain ridges. You settle beneath a warm rock shelf after feeding, body heavier now with prey slowly beginning to digest. Somewhere nearby, another young rattlesnake may be entering its own shedding cycle tonight, hidden beneath different stones beneath the same stars. And perhaps that is the strangest part of all. Humans often imagine snakes as symbols of transformation because they leave their old skin behind visibly in the world. Ancient cultures connected shedding with immortality, rebirth, hidden wisdom, even resurrection itself. But the desert reveals something less romantic and somehow more profound. Transformation here is not magical. It is survival. Grow or die, adapt or disappear. Shed the old layers before they trap you inside a body no longer capable of surviving the world around it. The desert begins feeling smaller now, not because the landscape changed, but because you finally understand enough of it to move with purpose instead of fear alone. The narrow washes twisting between stone ridges are no longer random terrain. They are pathways used by rodents after sunset. The shaded rock shelves beneath canyon walls are no longer just hiding places. They are thermal shelters where heat lingers through cold nights. Even the silence sounds different now. You recognize the rhythm of insects against dry grass, the distant wing beats of owls crossing above open sand, the sharp vibration patterns made by jackrabbits landing heavily against loose soil. Survival no longer feels accidental, and that may be the first true sign that you are becoming what the desert shaped your species to be. Bigger prey begins appearing in your life gradually. At first, the change feels almost invisible. A rodent slightly heavier than the last, a longer chase after a wounded animal. A meal large enough that digestion lasts for days instead of hours. But eventually, the difference becomes undeniable. You are no longer hunting only tiny creatures weak enough to die quickly. Now, the animals you pursue can fight back hard enough to injure you permanently. This changes everything about how you move through the world. A small lizard escaping your strike might cost you energy. A large desert rat fighting desperately for survival can blind you with a single bite. One broken fang. One damaged eye. One deep wound becoming infected beneath the heat of the desert sun. Nature rarely separates predator from vulnerability. Often, the most dangerous moment in a predator's life is the exact second it attacks. Night settles slowly across the southwest, while heat still rises from the rocks beneath your body. Somewhere beyond the distant hills, lightning flashes silently inside monsoon clouds too far away to bring rain here. You remain coiled beside a narrow rodent trail, partially hidden beneath creosote brush, perfectly still except for the slow flicking of your tongue. Hours may pass like this. Humans struggle to imagine such stillness because mammalian survival usually rewards movement. But your kind survives through efficiency more than speed. A rattlesnake can wait longer than most prey can remain cautious, and patience over millions of years became its own form of violence. The desert rodent trails grow busier after full darkness arrives. Kangaroo rats leap through shadows, using oversized hind legs designed to evade predators explosively. Pack rats drag cactus fragments and sticks toward hidden nests. Pocket mice move carefully between scattered seeds while constantly stopping to scan for danger. Many of these animals evolved alongside rattlesnakes, long enough that fear itself became biologically embedded into their behavior. Some studies suggest certain rodents react instinctively to rattlesnake scent even without prior encounters. Others display defensive behaviors specifically tuned to snake movement patterns. Evolution leaves memory inside bodies long after individual experiences disappear. Then, finally, movement. Heavy movement. A young desert cottontail emerges cautiously from the brush, several feet ahead. Larger than prey you once hunted. Stronger, too. Rabbits occupy a strange place in desert ecosystems because they survive not through weapons or camouflage alone, but through constant alertness and explosive acceleration. Everything hunts them. Coyotes, hawks, bobcats, foxes, and now you. Yet attacking something this large carries enormous risk. A rabbit's hind legs are powerful enough to fracture bone in smaller predators. Even adult rattlesnakes sometimes suffer serious injuries attempting prey too ambitious for their size. Scientists studying predator-prey relationships often note that successful predators rarely attack recklessly. Energy efficiency matters. Injury prevention matters more. A wounded predator may starve even if the wound itself seems minor. You remain motionless while the rabbit feeds beneath scattered brush. Your heat-sensitive pit organs detect the warm outline of its body clearly against cooling desert soil. Muscles tighten slowly beneath your scales. Every calculation inside your nervous system narrows toward distance and timing now. Too far and the strike fails. Too close and the rabbit may detect movement first. Then, suddenly, you launch forward. The strike lands hard against fur and flesh before the rabbit explodes backward violently into darkness. Sand scatters everywhere. Powerful hind legs kick blindly against the ground, while your body instantly recoils away from danger. Again, you release prey immediately. Holding on to large, struggling animals would be suicide. Venom exists partly because direct physical combat is too dangerous. And now comes the waiting. This part never becomes less tense, no matter how experienced you grow. Somewhere beyond the brush, your venom is moving through another animal's bloodstream, altering muscles, blood vessels, tissue, and circulation. Yet venom itself is not magic. Larger prey may travel surprising distances before collapsing. Some animals survive incomplete envenomation entirely. Others become dangerous during panic, even while dying. Scientists still debate exactly how venom composition balances killing efficiency against metabolic cost. Producing venom requires energy. Maintaining complex toxin systems requires energy. Evolution constantly negotiates trade-offs rather than creating perfection. Minutes pass. Then, your tongue begins detecting stronger chemical traces drifting through cooling air. Blood, stress hormones, disturbed soil. You follow slowly, carefully. The rabbit lies motionless beneath a cluster of rocks several yards away. Your largest kill so far. And immediately, another challenge begins. Swallowing large prey is not only physically difficult, it is dangerous in ways humans rarely consider. Your jaws expand gradually around the rabbit's body, while rows of backward curving teeth pull flesh deeper, inch by inch. The process is exhausting. Your breathing becomes slower and more difficult because the prey partially blocks your airway during swallowing. Yet snakes evolved a remarkable adaptation for this problem. The glottis, an opening controlling airflow, can extend forward beneath the prey, allowing breathing to continue even while the mouth remains stretched around massive meals. Evolution repeatedly solved problems inside your species through structural flexibility rather than brute force. But flexibility creates vulnerability too. You are almost defenseless while feeding. If a predator appears now, escape becomes difficult. Digestion afterward will leave you slower still. Yet the reward matters enormously. Large meals can sustain rattlesnakes for surprisingly long periods. Depending on temperature, prey size, and metabolic demands, some snakes survive weeks or even months between major meals. This changes the entire rhythm of your existence compared to mammals constantly searching for food daily. Hunger becomes less continuous, but far more consequential. Success matters because opportunities may not return quickly. Hours later, you retreat beneath stone while digestion begins transforming the rabbit into energy, muscle, venom, and future survival.
Your body temperature rises slightly through behavioral thermoregulation as you position yourself where warmth remains stable enough to aid digestion without risking overheating. Humans often underestimate how much reptile survival depends on controlling external conditions precisely. Temperature affects digestion speed, immune response, movement efficiency, and even venom production. A rattlesnake is not separate from its environment in the way humans imagine themselves separate from weather or landscape. The desert partly functions as your circulatory system. During the following weeks, your body changes noticeably again. Muscle thickens along your length. Your strikes become faster and more accurate through repetition. Even your behavior shifts subtly. Young rattlesnakes often rely more heavily on nervous defensiveness because nearly everything threatens them. Larger snakes gain a different kind of caution. Not fear exactly, calculation. Energy conservation becomes more important than panic. You begin choosing ambush locations more intelligently too, near rodent burrows, along narrow game trails, beside rocks retaining heat after sunset, where prey naturally gathers during colder nights. Scientists studying rattlesnake movement patterns discovered many individuals use surprisingly specific hunting locations repeatedly when conditions remain favorable. Some even display seasonal patterns connected to prey migration, breeding activity, or temperature changes. The desert may appear random to outsiders, but beneath the surface lies structure, repetition, predictable movement hidden inside apparent chaos. Then, one night, another lesson arrives violently. You detect movement heavier than usual near a dry wash cutting through the landscape. Not rabbit, not rodent. Ground squirrel. Larger, aggressive. Ground squirrels evolved alongside rattlesnakes long enough that their relationship became extraordinarily complex. Certain populations display partial venom resistance. Some even engage in bizarre defensive behaviors, like heating their tails to appear larger through infrared detection, essentially communicating directly into the sensory systems of snakes. Evolution has turned predator and prey into biological strategists, shaping each other continuously. The squirrel spots you before striking distance closes fully. Instantly, it begins aggressive defensive movements, kicking dirt and making sharp warning sounds. Instead of fleeing immediately, it advances cautiously toward you. This surprises humans unfamiliar with prey behavior. Many prey animals survive not by escaping instantly, but by demonstrating awareness. Ambush predators depend heavily on surprise. Once detected, attacks become riskier and less efficient. You rattle for the first time in several nights. The dry, buzzing sound vibrates through the wash like an electrical current hidden beneath the darkness. The squirrel hesitates, tail twitching, body tense. For several seconds, neither of you moves. Then, finally, the squirrel retreats slowly toward safer ground. No strike, no kill. Yet, survival still counts as success. This becomes another important change inside your life now. A true predator does not attack everything possible.
It learns restraint. Energy matters. Injury matters. Opportunity matters. The deeper you move into adulthood, the more survival depends on avoiding unnecessary risks rather than proving dominance. Because dominance in nature is often an illusion anyway. Even now, larger dangers remain everywhere. Coyotes still patrol these valleys. Hawks still scan open desert from above. King snakes still hunt reptiles beneath moonlight, carrying resistance to your venom. And somewhere farther out in the darkness, humans are slowly spreading roads, lights, fences, and engines into landscapes your species occupied long before cities existed here. But tonight, the desert still belongs mostly to older rhythms. Wind moves softly through cactus spines, while heat fades slowly from stone into open air. Somewhere beneath the stars, rodents continue searching for seeds, unaware that a young rattlesnake now waits beside their trails, no longer surviving by luck alone. You are becoming efficient, precise, dangerous. Not because the desert made you fearless, but because it taught you exactly how costly fear, hesitation, hunger, and injury truly are. The desert feels different during mating season, though nothing obvious changes at first. The rocks still absorb heat through the day and release it slowly after sunset. Dust still moves across dry washes beneath the wind. Coyotes still call from distant ridges, while rodents continue tracing invisible highways through the brush after dark. But underneath those familiar rhythms, another layer of movement begins spreading quietly across the landscape. Chemical trails grow stronger, longer, stranger. The air itself seems crowded with signals your body has never fully paid attention to before. Hunger no longer controls every decision now. Survival remains important, but another instinct is beginning to rise beside it, older than fear, and in some ways even stronger. Reproduction in the desert is dangerous because it forces animals to expose themselves at exactly the moment they should probably remain cautious. A rattlesnake searching for prey can stay hidden for days beneath stone without moving far at all. A rattlesnake searching for a mate may travel surprising distances across exposed terrain, following chemical traces left behind by another snake it has never seen. And those movements create risk. You leave familiar hunting grounds more frequently now. Your tongue flicks constantly through cooling evening air, not searching only for prey anymore, but for pheromones drifting invisibly through the desert. Somewhere nearby, a female rattlesnake passed through this wash recently. Your nervous system knows it instantly. Scientists still debate the full complexity of chemical communication in snakes because so much of it happens beyond human senses entirely. But what is clear is that scent governs enormous portions of rattlesnake behavior. Trails left across sand and stone carry information about species, sex, reproductive condition, and perhaps even individual health. The desert becomes filled with invisible conversations no human standing nearby could ever perceive. You follow the trail through narrow canyons, where shadows linger long after sunset. The female is older than you, larger too. Her scent marks stones, dry grass, and brush where her body passed earlier. Every few yards, your tongue flicks again, gathering microscopic particles drifting through the night air. Unlike mammals that often rely heavily on visual displays during courtship, your species communicates mostly through chemistry and behavior. There are no colorful feathers here, no songs echoing through the desert, no antlers crashing together beneath moonlight. Yet what unfolds between rattlesnakes during mating season can become just as violent and strangely ritualized as anything seen among larger predators. The trail eventually leads toward a rocky hillside warmed by the day's remaining heat. Then suddenly, you stop. Another male is already there. Bigger, heavier, older. His scent saturates the area before you even fully detect his shape among the stones. For several long seconds, neither of you moves. The female remains hidden somewhere nearby, beneath brush or rock, while both males assess each other silently. This is where many humans misunderstand rattlesnake behavior completely. People often imagine venomous snakes resolving conflict through immediate lethal attacks. But male rattlesnakes rarely attempt to kill one another during mating competition. Venom is dangerous, metabolically expensive, and risky even for the attacker. Instead, rival males engage in something far stranger. The larger male slowly lifts the front portion of his body upward. You respond instinctively. Your bodies begin rising from the desert floor together beneath the cold starlight, twisting and swaying like living ropes. Then the pushing begins. These combat dances, sometimes called ritual combat, may look almost graceful from a distance, but beneath the movement lies intense physical competition. Each snake attempts to overpower the other, not through biting, but through leverage and force. Bodies wrap and press together, while both snakes struggle to pin the other downward against the earth. Scientists believe these contests help establish dominance while reducing the likelihood of serious injury. Yet, injuries still happen. Larger males often possess clear advantages in these encounters, though endurance, positioning, and experience matter too. The desert remains silent, except for scales scraping softly against stone. No roaring, no snarling, no dramatic sound at all. And somehow, that silence makes the conflict feel even older. Mammalian violence often announces itself loudly. This does not. The older male pushes harder suddenly, forcing your body sideways against loose rock. Muscles strain beneath your scales, while both of you continue rising and twisting against one another. The female remains nearby somewhere, waiting, perhaps watching through scent and vibration more than vision. Researchers still debate how much active mate choice female snakes exert after these male combat displays. Some evidence suggests females may store sperm from multiple males, and that fertilization itself may involve more biological selection than once assumed. In other words, victory in combat may not guarantee reproductive success completely. evolution rarely rewards simple certainty. Finally, the larger male forces you downward against the rocks, hard enough that retreat becomes the safer option. You break away and slide backward into shadow, while the dominant male remains partially raised above the ground, body tense and motionless. The contest is over. Yet what lingers afterward is not humiliation in the human sense. It is something colder, more biological. Your body simply calculates survival against risk continuously. Severe injury now could destroy future mating opportunities entirely. The desert does not reward pride. Over the following nights, you continue searching. Mating season transforms rattlesnake behavior in subtle but important ways across entire regions. Males travel farther. Encounters become more common. Even predators may notice these shifts because increased movement exposes snakes more frequently to hawks, coyotes, and humans. Some researchers suspect seasonal snake activity patterns historically influenced human fear of rattlesnakes more than people realized. During periods when snakes move more openly, encounters naturally increase. Eventually, another scent trail emerges across a dry wash after sunset. Fresher this time, younger female. You follow carefully through clusters of cactus and scattered volcanic stone, while distant thunder rolls faintly across the horizon. Summer storms build heat lightning above the desert, without always bringing rain. The female waits beneath a rock shelf, partially hidden in darkness. This time, no rival males appear immediately. Courtship among rattlesnakes unfolds slowly and cautiously. You approach through scent first, tongue flicking constantly. The female remains mostly still while your body brushes lightly against hers. Scientists still study the details of these interactions because snake behavior can appear deceptively simple to human observers, despite involving highly specific timing and chemical communication. There are no emotional gestures recognizable to mammals, yet the behavior is precise, intentional, ancient. The female may still reject you. Some female rattlesnakes avoid mating altogether during certain years, depending on body condition, food availability, or environmental stress. Reproduction costs enormous energy. Carrying developing young inside the body for months beneath desert temperatures creates serious survival pressure. A female reproducing during poor environmental conditions risks starvation herself. In many ecosystems, successful reproduction depends less on desire than on timing and available resources. Tonight, though, the female allows your approach to continue. Hours pass slowly beneath cooling stone, while the desert remains alive around you. Owls move overhead. Rodents rustle through brush nearby, unaware of the silent biological negotiations unfolding beneath the rocks. Somewhere farther away, another pair of males may still be locked in combat beneath moonlight, while coyotes patrol dry riverbeds searching for movement. The desert never pauses simply because reproduction begins. Even now, danger surrounds you both, constantly. Then, suddenly, vibrations travel sharply through the ground, heavy, fast. Both of you freeze instantly. A badger crosses the wash less than 30 yards away. Powerful claws tear briefly into loose dirt before the animal continues moving through darkness. Badgers are among the most feared predators in rattlesnake territory for good reason. Aggressive, intelligent, and heavily built, they can dig snakes from hiding places and survive encounters that might kill many other mammals. Even during mating season, even during reproduction itself, survival interrupts everything. The badger disappears eventually into the darkness, but tension lingers long afterward. Perhaps that is what makes reproduction in the wild feel so different from human imagination. There is no safety surrounding it, no protected privacy. Life attempts to continue itself while predators circle constantly nearby. Days later, the female disappears into another section of desert after mating. You may never encounter her again. Yet somewhere inside her body, sperm may remain viable for astonishing lengths of time. Female rattlesnakes possess the ability to store sperm for extended periods, potentially allowing fertilization long after mating occurs. Some researchers believe this gives females greater control over reproductive timing in unpredictable environments. Others suggest sperm competition inside the reproductive tract may influence which male ultimately fathers offspring. The deeper scientists study reptiles, the more complicated these systems appear. Evolution often hides astonishing sophistication beneath behaviors humans once dismissed as primitive. As the season continues, you encounter more males moving through the desert now. Some carry scars across their bodies from previous combat. Others retreat immediately after brief assessment. The combat dances repeat again and again across hidden sections of the Southwest beneath stars humans rarely notice. Ancient contests fought without sound in landscapes older than civilization itself. And slowly, another realization begins settling into your life. You are no longer the small rattlesnake hiding constantly beneath stone, waiting only to survive until morning. Your body has become part of something larger now, a cycle continuing through droughts, storms, predators, wildfires, and shifting climates, long before humans ever feared the sound of a rattle in dry grass. Somewhere in the darkness ahead, future offspring may already exist, only as possibility, drifting invisibly through the desert air. At first, almost nothing looks different from the outside. The desert still wakes the same way each evening. Heat bleeds slowly from canyon walls after sunset, while wind drags dust across dry riverbeds carved by storms older than memory. Rodents still emerge carefully from underground tunnels. Owls still pass overhead without sound. The entire landscape appears unchanged. But inside your body, something has begun. Hidden beneath muscle, scales, and coiled organs, new life is forming, slowly in darkness. And suddenly, survival no longer belongs only to you. That changes the meaning of every decision. The strange thing about becoming a mother in the desert is how little room nature gives you to be vulnerable. Mammals often retreat into protected dens, nests, or family groups during pregnancy.
Your kind receives no such protection. You must continue surviving beneath brutal temperatures while carrying developing young inside your body for months. Every hunt now becomes more dangerous because injury threatens more than one life. Every long stretch without food drains energy needed not only for movement and venom production, but for growth happening quietly within you. Scientists studying rattlesnake reproduction have found that many females do not reproduce every year, especially in harsh environments where prey becomes unreliable. Producing offspring costs enormous amounts of energy. In some regions, females may wait several years between reproductive cycles, depending on body condition and food availability. The desert punishes reckless reproduction just as severely as starvation. You begin hunting less aggressively now, not because instinct disappears, but because your body starts changing in ways that make movement heavier and slower. Large prey becomes riskier. Fast chases become inefficient. Even climbing rough stone demands more caution than before. Instead, you begin relying even more heavily on ambush. Stillness becomes your greatest weapon again. You spend long periods coiled beneath brush or beside rodent trails, conserving energy while the young inside you continue developing silently. The nights are warmer now. Summer has settled heavily across the southwest, bringing dry heat that lingers long after dark. Temperature matters constantly because your body cannot generate stable internal warmth the way mammals can. Yet now, thermoregulation affects not only your survival, but the development of your offspring as well. You begin choosing basking locations more carefully during mornings, exposing yourself briefly to sunlight before retreating into shade at precisely the right moment. Too cold and development slows. Too hot and dangerous, stress builds inside your body. Some researchers believe gravid female rattlesnakes become remarkably precise in managing body temperature during pregnancy, almost as though the desert itself temporarily becomes part of the reproductive system. The line between environment and biology grows thinner than ever. Days pass beneath blazing skies while your body grows heavier. Hunting becomes harder now because speed matters less than efficiency. A failed strike wastes energy you cannot afford to lose. Yet, avoiding food entirely is impossible. The young inside you are growing rapidly. Their tiny organs form beneath translucent membranes. Venom glands begin developing. Fangs already exist in miniature. Somewhere inside your body, future predators are assembling piece by piece beneath the heat of the desert. One evening, while crossing a dry wash after sunset, you sense movement ahead through the ground. A jackrabbit feeding near low brush, larger than prey you would normally attempt in this condition. Risky. Yet your body needs food desperately. You remain still for nearly an hour while the rabbit moves gradually closer beneath moonlight. The desert at night feels endless now, vast and silent except for distant insects and the soft shifting of sand beneath small feet. Then, finally, the rabbit pauses within range. You strike instantly. Venom enters flesh before the animal launches backward violently across the wash. The chase afterward feels slower than before, heavier. your body no longer moves with the same precision it once did. And, for a terrifying moment, you lose the chemical trail entirely among dry grass and scattered rock. Panic in reptiles does not resemble mammalian panic exactly, but stress floods your nervous system sharply now because failure carries different consequences than it once did. Then finally your tongue catches the scent again: blood, venom, fear. You find the rabbit collapsed beneath brush several yards away. Another successful hunt. Another week of survival purchased through violence and patience beneath the desert sky. As summer deepens, another instinct begins emerging alongside hunger and caution. You start searching for shelter not just for yourself, but for birth. Unlike many snakes, rattlesnakes do not lay eggs in hidden nests. The young remain inside your body until development is nearly complete. Scientists describe this as ovoviviparity in many rattlesnake species, meaning the eggs develop internally rather than externally. To human observers, it appears almost like live birth. And this strategy may offer enormous advantages in harsh environments. Desert temperatures fluctuate violently between scorching days and cold nights. Carrying offspring internally may allow mothers greater control over developmental conditions compared to leaving eggs exposed underground. Yet this adaptation comes with heavy costs. You must survive the entire process personally. Some female rattlesnakes travel surprisingly far to reach suitable birthing locations. Others return repeatedly to traditional denning areas used across generations. Scientists still debate how much spatial memory rattlesnakes possess and how precisely they navigate familiar terrain over long periods. But evidence increasingly suggests these reptiles understand their environments in far more complex ways than people once assumed. You eventually settle near a rocky hillside where deep cracks provide shelter from predators and extreme heat. The stone here retains warmth through the night, while offering enough protection from hawks overhead. Other rattlesnakes may use nearby crevices too, though interactions remain cautious and distant. Solitude still defines most of your existence. Weeks pass. Your movements slow further. Feeding nearly stops now. Many pregnant rattlesnakes reduce hunting dramatically late in gestation because digestion itself demands energy and mobility becomes increasingly difficult. Instead, you spend long hours basking near stone entrances during mornings before retreating underground during peak heat. The desert around you continues its endless violence without pause. Coyotes cross the washes below. King snakes still move silently through the brush, searching for reptiles. Monsoon storms occasionally explode across the horizon with sudden lightning and flash floods tearing through dry channels. Yet, beneath the rocks, life continues, growing quietly inside you. Then, one evening, the contractions begin. The sensation spreads slowly at first through your body, like pressure tightening beneath muscle and spine. You retreat deeper into the shelter while darkness settles across the desert outside. Rain falls somewhere far away, carrying the smell of wet earth into the warm night air. Hours pass. Then, finally, the first newborn emerges. small, wet, twisting weakly against stone. Another follows, then another. Tiny bodies slide slowly into the world, carrying miniature fangs, tiny venom glands, and instincts already older than humanity itself. They arrive enclosed partly in thin embryonic membranes, which break open quickly after birth. Some remain nearly motionless at first, while their nervous systems adjust to the outside world for the first time. Others begin tongue flicking almost immediately. You remain coiled tightly around them through the night. This surprises many humans because snakes are often imagined as entirely detached parents. Yet rattlesnake mothers frequently stay with newborns for several days after birth. Scientists still debate how emotionally or cognitively to interpret this behavior. It may not resemble mammalian parental bonding in the human sense, but biologically, the protection matters. The newborns are extremely vulnerable during these first days while they prepare for their initial shed. Your body remains wrapped around them beneath the stone, while cold desert air drifts outside. For a brief moment, something unusual exists here. Not a family in the human sense, not affection as people understand it, but protection, presence, a temporary suspension of total isolation. The newborns cluster together instinctively while their tiny bodies absorb warmth from the surrounding stone and perhaps from one another. Some researchers suspect this brief social period may improve early survival rates, though the exact advantages remain studied. Then, slowly, another reality begins approaching. You cannot stay forever. Your body is exhausted. Weeks without proper feeding have weakened you. Remaining too long near the birthing site increases danger for everyone. Predators may detect scent. Resources nearby may become limited. And perhaps most importantly, your species was never built for long-term parental care. The desert does not allow it easily. One by one, the newborns begin completing their first shed. Tiny old skins peel away beneath the rocks, revealing brighter scales beneath, just as yours once did long ago. And with that first shed comes independence. Their venom systems are functional now, their hunting instincts active, their lives already beginning to separate from yours. You watch them disperse gradually into cracks, brush, and darkness beneath the desert night. Some will die within weeks. Hawks will take them. Mammals will kill them. Hunger will kill others. The desert wastes very little mercy on the young. Yet a few may survive. A few may someday cross these same washes as adults, carrying their own offspring beneath the same stars. Eventually, you leave too, alone again. Your body thinner now, weaker, but alive. Behind you, beneath warm stone hidden from the world, tiny rattlesnakes disappear silently into the desert, carrying fragments of your survival forward into a future neither of you will ever fully see. For most of your life, danger followed patterns the desert understood. Hawks circled overhead, because hunger drove them. Coyotes hunted because they needed food. King snakes searched the rocks because evolution shaped them into reptile hunters long before your species existed. Even violence carried balance. Predators killed only enough to survive. Prey adapted. Seasons shifted. Drought came and went. But eventually, another animal entered the desert, carrying something different from hunger. Humans. At first, you only notice fragments of them, strange vibrations traveling unnaturally through the ground at impossible speed, sharp chemical smells hanging in the air long after sunset, light appearing where darkness should exist. The desert begins changing in ways no storm or predator ever changed it before. Dry washes, once crossed only by coyotes, now carry hard black surfaces that trap heat all night. The ground trembles constantly beneath them. Machines move across the landscape faster than anything your species evolved to understand. And, unlike most predators, these new creatures do not always avoid risk. Sometimes they seek it out deliberately. One night, while crossing warm pavement still radiating heat after sunset, you sense the vibration too late. Blinding white light erupts across the desert as an engine roars toward you. Instinct freezes your body for half a second beneath the glare. Then the machine passes inches away, wind exploding violently over your scales before disappearing into darkness. You survive, but many do not. Roads became one of the deadliest changes humans brought into rattlesnake territory, though not always intentionally. Asphalt retains warmth long after sundown, attracting snakes searching for heat during cooler nights. Cars move too quickly for escape. In some regions, roads now cut directly through migration routes rattlesnakes used for generations while traveling between seasonal shelters and hunting grounds. Scientists studying reptile populations increasingly recognize roads not simply as barriers, but as active sources of mortality, reshaping animal movement patterns across entire ecosystems. Yet the deeper danger humans bring is not speed alone. It is fear. Most predators in the desert understand exactly what you are. Humans often do not. The irony is strange. Your venom evolved primarily for hunting and defense, not random aggression. Most rattlesnakes avoid confrontation whenever possible, because striking carries risk and venom costs energy to replace. But humans rarely experience you through evolutionary familiarity. They experience you through instinctive terror, amplified by stories, myths, and generations of warning. Somewhere deep inside the human nervous system, snakes trigger reactions older than civilization itself. Scientists still debate exactly why humans fear snakes so intensely across cultures. Some researchers believe primates evolved specialized visual sensitivity toward snake-like shapes because venomous snakes represented serious threats during early human evolution. Others argue fear becomes learned culturally through social transmission. The truth may involve both. Whatever the explanation, your species became one of the most emotionally charged animals humans encounter. One afternoon, hidden beneath brush near a dry trail, you sense heavy footsteps approaching. Human. The vibrations feel irregular compared to other animals. Slower, heavier. Then, voices. Humans rarely move silently through the desert. They crash through brush, scatter stones, and carry strange synthetic smells clinging to their skin and clothing. You remain perfectly still beneath the shade, relying on camouflage the way your ancestors survived for millions of years. But one of the humans spots you anyway. Instantly, everything changes. Fear moves through human groups faster than almost any other emotion. Shouting erupts. Footsteps stumble backward across loose rock. Then, suddenly, another sound appears. Metal scraping against stone. A long branch. Humans often kill rattlesnakes not because the snake attacked, but because the possibility of attack alone feels intolerable. To many people, seeing a rattlesnake nearby creates immediate panic strong enough to override caution completely. You rattle loudly now, body coiled defensively beneath the brush. The sound vibrates sharply through dry air like static electricity. This is the moment the rattle evolved for. A warning, distance, avoidance. But humans react unpredictably. Some retreat instantly. Others move closer. The branch strikes the ground beside you violently. Dust explodes upward. Another strike follows, closer this time. You launch backward, deeper beneath the rocks, while the humans continue shouting overhead. Eventually, they leave, but not because understanding replaced fear, only because distance finally did. The desert grows quieter again after sunset, yet human presence lingers long afterward in ways older predators never did. Trash appears beside trails. Fences cut across movement corridors. Artificial lights erase darkness near expanding towns and highways. Some prey species increase near human development because food and water become more available. Others disappear entirely. The balance shifts unevenly, and your species must adapt or vanish alongside those changes. In certain places, rattlesnakes actually benefit temporarily from human-altered environments. Rodents gather near farms, garbage, irrigation systems, and abandoned structures, attracting predators like you. But these advantages carry dangerous consequences too, because closer proximity to humans increases encounters dramatically. And humans rarely tolerate surprise encounters with venomous snakes calmly. Then there are the roundups. Long before you understand the concept fully, you begin sensing entire sections of desert becoming strangely empty. For generations, some communities across the American Southwest organized rattlesnake roundups, where large numbers of snakes were collected, displayed, and often killed publicly. Supporters sometimes argued these events protected communities or preserved cultural traditions. Critics increasingly viewed them as ecologically damaging and unnecessarily cruel. Over time, certain roundups shifted toward educational or conservation-focused approaches, while others faced growing opposition from biologists and wildlife advocates. But out here in the desert, what matters most is simpler. Humans learned how to remove enormous numbers of snakes from landscapes very quickly. Some collectors once used gasoline poured into dens to force rattlesnakes outward. The method killed far more than snakes. Burrowing mammals, insects, and other reptiles suffered too, while underground shelters became contaminated.
Scientists studying desert ecosystems later warned that these practices damaged far more than a single species, because rattlesnakes occupy important ecological roles within food webs. Without predators controlling rodent populations, disease risks and agricultural damage can increase significantly. This is another irony humans continue struggling with. The animals they fear most sometimes protect the ecosystems they depend on. One evening, while hunting near abandoned debris at the edge of a growing settlement, you sense something unusual ahead. A human alone, not moving aggressively, remaining still. The scent is unfamiliar compared to hikers or hunters. Different chemicals, metal tools, containers. The human kneels several yards away, watching carefully while holding a long, hooked pole. Scientists, researchers. For the first time, a human approaches not with panic or violence, but curiosity. The hook gently pins part of your body against the ground, while gloved hands secure your head carefully behind the jaws. Stress floods your nervous system instantly. Yet the human movements remain controlled, almost cautious. Researchers studying rattlesnakes collect extraordinary amounts of information this way: blood samples, venom samples, measurements, radio transmitters for tracking movement across seasons. Through this work, scientists discovered surprising details about rattlesnake behavior humans overlooked for centuries. Some rattlesnakes return repeatedly to the same dens year after year, with remarkable navigational precision. Others travel far greater distances than expected during seasonal movement. Pregnant females sometimes bask together in small groups. Hunting behavior changes based on prey availability, temperature, and reproductive cycles. The deeper humans study rattlesnakes scientifically, the less simple the animals appear. Then comes the venom extraction. Your fangs press against a collection container, while muscles around venom glands contract instinctively. Pale liquid drips into glass beneath harsh artificial light. Humans once viewed venom only as death. Increasingly, they see medicine hidden inside it too. Components of snake venom have contributed to research involving blood pressure treatments, clotting disorders, pain mechanisms, and cardiovascular medicine. Substances evolved for killing prey may ultimately help save human lives. That contradiction feels strangely appropriate somehow. The same chemistry inspiring fear across human history may also contain tools capable of healing. After the researchers release you back into the desert, the night feels different. Humans remain dangerous. Perhaps the most dangerous species your kind has ever encountered. Unlike hawks or coyotes, humans alter entire landscapes. They move rivers, blast roads through mountains, expand cities across migration routes, kill from fear, curiosity, sport, or accident. Yet humans are also the only predators capable of choosing restraint consciously. Some destroy rattlesnakes on sight. Others spend their lives trying to protect them. The contradiction runs through human behavior constantly. As years pass, the desert itself changes around you. Summers grow hotter in ways even older patterns seem unable to predict consistently. Drought stretches longer. Water sources disappear earlier in the season. Scientists debate exactly how climate change may affect rattlesnake populations long term.
because ecosystems respond in extraordinarily complex ways. Warmer temperatures may expand suitable habitat in some regions while destroying it in others. Prey movement changes. Breeding cycles shift. Disease patterns evolve. The desert remains alive, but less stable somehow. And through it all, humans continue spreading deeper into places once ruled only by heat, stone, and silence. One night, you coil beneath a rock, overlooking distant lights glowing against the horizon, where darkness used to exist uninterrupted. The city hums faintly, even from miles away. Somewhere inside those lights, humans tell stories about creatures like you. Some stories paint you as monsters, hidden beneath the desert, waiting to strike. Others describe you as ancient survivors, essential to fragile ecosystems. Perhaps both stories reveal more about humans than about rattlesnakes themselves. Because out here, beneath the stars, your life has never truly been built around hatred or malice. Only survival, hunger, temperature, timing, reproduction. The same forces shaping life in the desert, long before humans arrived, carrying fear bright enough to light the night sky itself. At first, death does not arrive dramatically. There is no single moment where the desert suddenly announces the end. Instead, it begins quietly, through small failures, almost impossible to notice from the outside. A strike that lands slightly slower than before. A climb over rough stone that takes longer than it once did. A cold night that lingers deeper inside your muscles after sunrise. Aging in the desert rarely looks emotional. It looks physical, mechanical. A body surviving millions of years of evolution finally beginning to lose the endless negotiation against heat, hunger, injury, and time itself. The younger rattlesnakes moving through these washes now are faster than you remember being. Their strikes feel sharper, their bodies thinner and more efficient beneath fresh scales. Meanwhile, scars have begun collecting across your own body in ways impossible to avoid after years in the desert. One scale near your side never healed properly after a close escape from a hawk seasons ago. Part of your tail rattles unevenly where older segments snapped away against stone. One fang now takes longer to replace after shedding cycles. None of these injuries alone matter enough to kill you, but survival in nature rarely collapses from one failure. Usually, it erodes through accumulation. The desert around you continues exactly as it always has. Coyotes still cross dry washes after dark. Rodents still scatter through brush beneath moonlight. Summer storms still roll across distant mountains, carrying lightning into landscapes too dry to hold the rain for long. Yet your relationship with the desert has changed. You spend more time conserving heat beneath stone because cold affects your movement more severely now. Digestion takes longer after large meals. Hunting requires more patience because explosive strikes demand energy your body no longer restores as easily. Younger snakes may survive failed hunts without serious consequence. For you, wasted energy begins carrying real danger. One night, after hours waiting beside a rodent trail beneath creosote brush, you finally strike at movement crossing the sand ahead. But the rodent escapes. Barely. Your fangs clip fur instead of flesh before the animal vanishes into darkness. Years ago, you might have attempted another hunt immediately, somewhere else along the wash. Tonight, you remain still instead, conserving energy while the desert grows colder around you. That hesitation matters. Scientists studying reptile aging still know surprisingly little compared to what is understood about mammals. Reptiles age differently in many ways. Some continue growing slowly across much of their lives. Their metabolisms operate under entirely different constraints. Yet aging still arrives. Muscles weaken, regeneration slows, injury recovery becomes less reliable. Even sensory efficiency may decline subtly over time. The desert gives no exemption simply because a predator once survived successfully. Hunger stretches longer between meals now. Not starvation exactly, but a growing instability. You begin taking smaller prey more often because larger prey carries too much risk of injury. Yet smaller prey provides less energy. The balance starts shifting against you gradually. One evening, you sense a ground squirrel moving through broken rocks nearby. In earlier years, you might have avoided the confrontation because ground squirrels can fight viciously, and some populations possess partial venom resistance. But hunger changes calculations. You ambush from shadow as the squirrel approaches. The strike lands cleanly. Yet, instead of collapsing quickly, the squirrel explodes into violent panic, claws tearing across your neck before escaping briefly between the rocks. You recoil instantly, but damage is already done. Blood darkens several scales along your body, while the squirrel disappears into darkness, carrying venom inside it. You eventually locate the prey, dead beneath a bush, but swallowing it no longer feels like victory. Pain spreads beneath damaged tissue, while your body struggles against infection risk, already beginning at the wound site. In mammals, injury often becomes visible through limping, vocal distress, or exhaustion. In rattlesnakes, weakness hides more silently. You simply move less, hunt less, remain longer beneath shelter. The desert itself begins pulling you inward toward stillness. Weeks pass while the wound partially heals, but not completely. Reptiles can survive astonishing injuries compared to many animals. Yet, survival is not the same as recovery. Scar tissue tightens movement slightly. The next shedding cycle removes damaged scales, but not the weakness beneath them. Another winter approaches. In many parts of the Southwest, rattlesnakes retreat toward communal dens during colder months, where underground temperatures remain more stable. Some den sites may be used for generations. Scientists tracking rattlesnakes with radio telemetry discovered certain individuals navigate back toward remarkably precise shelter locations year after year, though exactly how they orient themselves remains partly mysterious. Chemical cues, magnetic sensitivity, terrain memory, solar positioning, all remain possibilities debated in varying degrees. You begin traveling slowly toward familiar rocky hills where deep crevices hold warmth beneath the earth. Along the way, you cross roads hotter and louder than the desert you once knew. Human lights glow across distant valleys every night now. Entire sections of old hunting territory have disappeared beneath buildings, fences, and asphalt. Yet, strangely, none of that feels personal. Nature rarely experiences tragedy through emotion the way humans do. Landscapes change, species adapt or vanish. The desert continues. At the den entrance, several younger rattlesnakes already occupy the deeper cracks.
Some may even descend from offspring you produced seasons earlier, though neither you nor they could ever recognize that connection the way mammals might. Still, something ancient continues here. Generations cycling through the same stone shelters beneath changing skies. The winter inside the den feels colder this year. Your metabolism slows dramatically as temperatures drop. During brumation, the reptilian equivalent of hibernation, movement nearly stops. Heart rate slows. Digestion ceases. Survival depends on conserving enough energy to outlast the cold months underground. Yet older bodies tolerate these extremes less efficiently. Dehydration lingers longer. Recovery comes slower after warming periods. Occasionally, you emerge briefly during warmer afternoons to bask near sunlit rocks before retreating underground again. One afternoon, while resting near the den entrance, you detect another rattlesnake nearby. Young, healthy. Its scales appear almost unnaturally sharp and bright beneath winter sunlight. For a moment, both of you remain still beside the rocks, while cold desert wind moves through dry grass around the hillside. The younger snake eventually disappears downslope toward open desert where rodents still move beneath fading light. You remain behind, not because instinct disappeared, but because your body calculates energy differently now. Another hunt may cost more than it returns. Spring eventually returns to the southwest once again. Wildflowers briefly appear across parts of the desert after seasonal rains. Rodents multiply near fresh vegetation. Life surges back across the landscape exactly as it always has. Yet your own body does not recover with the season the way it once did. Hunting becomes increasingly difficult. One eye clouds slightly after an old injury never healed correctly. Your strikes lose precision. Digestion slows further. Parasites that healthier snakes might resist more easily begin weakening you gradually from within. Scientists studying wild reptiles often note how difficult it is to determine exact lifespan in natural conditions because so many deaths happen unseen. Few animals in the desert die peacefully of simple old age alone. Usually, aging lowers resistance until starvation, infection, predation, dehydration, or environmental stress finally finishes what time already began. One night, beneath a moonless sky, you attempt crossing a rocky wash after sensing prey movement nearby. But halfway across, exhaustion forces you to stop beneath open ground, dangerously exposed. The desert feels unusually cold. Wind drifts softly across sand.
while distant coyotes call somewhere beyond the hills. You remain motionless for long periods now between movements. Energy feels harder to gather inside your muscles. Then, the vibrations arrive. Light footsteps. Careful, controlled. A fox. Younger in earlier years, you might have rattled loudly and defended yourself aggressively. Tonight, you remain still instead beneath shadow, relying on camouflage one last time. The fox circles cautiously nearby. Its nose lifts repeatedly through the air, catching your scent. For several long seconds, the predator hesitates uncertainly. Then, eventually, it moves on into darkness, searching for easier prey elsewhere. Survival again. Barely. But even survival now feels temporary. Days later, another storm rolls across the desert. Rain falls briefly across the rocks before cold air settles heavily into the valleys afterward. You retreat beneath a familiar stone shelf where warmth still lingers faintly from the day. Your breathing slows. The wound along your body aches constantly now. Hunger remains present, but distant somehow, no longer sharp enough to drive movement easily. Around you, the desert continues exactly as it always has. Insects pulse through wet brush after the rain. Rodents emerge cautiously from flooded burrows. Somewhere farther away, younger rattlesnakes hunt beneath the same darkness where you once learned survival for the first time. Then, gradually, movement becomes harder altogether. Your body coils beneath the rock, while cold air deepens through the night. There is no dramatic final battle, no violent ending worthy of fear, only slowing. Nature often kills quietly. By morning, scavengers will begin arriving eventually. Insects first, then rodents perhaps, smaller predators afterward. Your body will return to the desert piece by piece, the same way everything else eventually does here. The venom glands behind your eyes will dry. Scales will fade beneath heat and dust. Bones will scatter across stone beneath windstorms and monsoon floods until almost nothing recognizable remains. Humans often imagine death as disappearance, but the desert treats death differently. Nothing truly leaves. Energy transfers. Flesh becomes insects. Insects become birds. Bones feed soil too dry to waste even calcium. Somewhere, seasons from now, perhaps a rodent will dig a burrow through the exact ground where your body once rested. Perhaps one of your offspring will hunt there without ever knowing. And above it all, the desert will continue doing what it has always done, long before rattlesnakes existed, and long after every living one disappears someday. Heat rising from stone after sunset, wind moving across dry washes, predators searching beneath the stars, silence stretching endlessly across the American Southwest, while life and death keep passing through each other so completely that eventually the difference between them almost disappears. Thanks for spending this night in the desert with me. The life of a rattlesnake is harsh, silent, and ancient, yet strangely beautiful. If you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to subscribe to Sleep Documentary for more relaxing stories tonight.